G'day humans, Stead here. Today I'm reviewing the Sony Bravia 9. So the Bravia 9 is the flagship entry in Sony's 2024 TV range. This is the 75 inch you can see right here, but there's also an 85 inch. Overseas, I think there might be a 65 inch, but in Australia it's just the 75 and the 85 inch that's available to you. Now, I have done a separate video where I've compared this particular TV to the other entries in 2024, so the Sony Bravia 8, the OLED model, and the Sony Bravia 7, so you can go check those out on the channel. I'm going to focus specifically on this TV for this review. Now, it goes, well, needless to say, this is Sony's brightest TV ever. It's a Mini-LED QLED, so that's quantum dot LED technology, and it is the replacement to the X95K from previous generations. But is it any good? We're going to jump in and have a look at that during this review, and I apologise that you got to look at my ugly mug twice in this video, but I did want to show something off on the TV. This is me in the Maldives. It's shot in 4K, but unfortunately every time I put something else up there I get a copyright infringement, so you're going to have to watch me twice. But don't worry, my face is only up there for a little bit. Now let's talk about the price. So the 75 inch here in Australia is going to set you back $6,999, and the 85 inch, so the one up from this, is going to cost you $7,999. Now I had a bit of a look around before I came in and shot this, and it looks like you can pick it up for about $1,000 under those recommended retail prices, even through the official Sony channel. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. And that price is pretty relative. It's not too bad. It's kind of around what we'd expect from this kind of experience and size with, say, your Samsungs, your LGs, and your other players in the market. But what are you getting for that price? Well, let's jump in and have a look at the specs. So it's got 4K resolution, so it's 3840 by 2160. It's got 120 Hz refresh rate, so that's good. Obviously, what I expect from anything that's pitching itself as a bit of a gaming experience. There's a 2.2.2 system, speaker system inbuilt into the panel. I'll go into that a little bit more in the details, but it's got 70 watts worth of output. It's all running off Google TV, but it's got the XR processor within it. So it's kind of Sony's, it's Sony's big processor. That's where you're going to get all your AI upscaling or your decompression, all that kind of stuff is going to happen through the XR processor. Other things that Sony's pitching is XR backlight master drive, high peak luminance 3, X wide angle, X anti-reflection, and voice zoom 3. Now the last one there is pretty cool actually. It just pulls out the voice and allows you to amplify it, and it works actually quite well in just making the dialogue stand out against all the background sound. Now this particular model does come with a premium backlit remote that has Find My Remote, so you can just find my remote. You can actually do it by voice if you want, and it's also USB-C rechargeable, which is good. They consider it an eco-friendly remote. It's ATSC 3.0 enabled, so video broadcasts in 4K 120 HDR, so that's going to give you analog and digital experience through this TV. Dolby Atmos and DTS X audio, Dolby Vision, and HDR10, but not HDR10 Plus, which is notable. Now you get Bravia Core, which is kind of the Sony streaming service. You do get a 24-month subscription to that with this particular TV. It's less of a subscription on the lesser models, and you'll get 10 free movies as part of that as well you can download to keep forever. Bravia Core is pretty cool. It's an added bonus, but it's just not going to replace your Netflixes and those types of things that you're using. Port-wise, you've got your coaxial, you've got Ethernet optical audio out, which is interesting. You got because that also doubles as your center speaker if you're using it with a soundbar. 2 USBs and 4 HDMIs, and sadly, only 2 of the HDMIs are 2.1. That's still a sticking point for me, and that's still an issue that Sony needs to resolve in my mind. Wi-Fi 6E enabled, Bluetooth 5.3 enabled. It's got a 3x300 VESA mount. It's a low mount though. I'll talk about that a little bit more in a sec. And you can connect like Chromecast, AirPlay 2, and as I mentioned, you can do Google Voice through the TV as well. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the design of the Sony Bravia 9. And look, when you're looking front on, as you are right now, it's really quite nice. It doesn't have that thick a bezel. It's mostly screen real estate. There is like a little kind of IR or remote sensor down here that you can kind of make out, but it's not too bad. It's all pretty well done. As you can see, I've got it wall mounted here. You can obviously it does come with a stand. The stand's really smartly designed. It can be stood out, stood in, stood up, stood down, so you can fit soundbars, depending on what type of soundbar you have, in between without blocking your screen. So I really like what they've done there with the wall mounting. One of the interesting things is, you can't see it here, but the VESA mounting is quite low on this TV. So that's just something to note, because if you're replacing a TV that has a high VESA on it, with this particular TV, it's going to sit lower on the wall mount you already have, if that makes sense. So it's quite a low wall mount, and it's a bit unusual to some of the other TVs that I've seen in the past. Now, with the HDMI ports on the side, the access to the side panel I can get through here. I've been able to actually pull in some of the cables out and in without having to unmount the screen, which is great. But one of the things that's really starting to happen with these bigger TVs that are getting bigger and bigger and bigger is that the distance between the port up here and the devices that it might be plugged into down here, such as the consoles, such as a soundbar, a TV box, anything like that, is getting so big, and the HDMI cables aren't. And I don't know why they can't just consider rechanging it so that you can just access the ports from underneath somehow, or some other system, because like this soundbar is actually, I don't know if you can see it here, but this soundbar is actually on quite a stretch with the HDMI cable. I think that's just something that they could work on with the design in the future. Elsewhere, while it looks great looking forward and onto it, when you're looking at it from the side, it's actually quite a bulky device. It's got a good inch or so plus of thickness, and when you actually, if you're going to have it mounted or sitting in an area where you're going to constantly be approaching it from the side, you're really going to notice that thickness. It just feels dense, as opposed to some of the slimmer screens you can see elsewhere. For example, Samsung has all the connections out in a separate box, and it's a lot thinner screen, as an example. Looking at it flat on, you're not going to notice it, but when you're looking at it from side on, it does look quite thick and not awfully beautiful. Special mention to the remote, which I think is really nice. I like these bigger remotes. I know that some companies have been going for smaller and slimmer. I just find smaller and slimmer gets lost. What's wrong with a controller that's big? It's light. It's got everything on there. It's really responsive, and it's charged by USB-C, which is great. It's also backlit, so it's easy to look at in the night. And I also like the fact that it's got Find My Remote, because like I said, always losing remotes, and it's because I've got kids. So that's, anyway, an overlook at the design. Perhaps the only downside of Sony Bravia 9 is that it stops at 85 inches, and we're seeing a lot of players in the market now moving up into that, high 90s, 98 inch, even over 100 inch size TVs nowadays, especially in the flagship models. And for Sony to have stopped at 85, I thought was quite intriguing, especially considering all the data that I keep getting fed from these TV manufacturers, that Australians in particular are going bigger and bigger and bigger. So perhaps something in the 90s would have been a nice addition as well. So usually I don't really talk too much about audio with a TV, because generally I just go, you want that soundbar. But the audio coming out of the Sony Bravia 9 does warrant a mention. So it's got a 2.2.2 speaker system built in, and it's divided out of 8 speakers. So there's 2 subwoofers, 2 frame tweeters, 2 mid-range, and then there's also, for the first time, 2 upward firing speakers. So you're getting that kind of Dolby Atmos experience out of the TV itself before you even go into a soundbar experience. Now, it's also, on top of that, if you connect it with a soundbar, which you can see down here, I've got the Theater Bar 8 here, so I'm going to do a separate review on that. But it also obviously talks to the soundbar as well. That includes acoustic, I think it's called acoustic center sync, where basically you can connect the soundbar to the TV and integrate the TV into the soundbar ecosystem, so it plays a role as well if you happen to go down that track. But even if you don't, this does come with Zoom control, Voice Zoom 3, which is AI driven, and basically what it does is, as I mentioned before, it pulls out the audio of the dialogue and then kind of gives that a little bump, and that actually works quite well and really does help, especially on some of the streams that you get where it's just all over the place. It just helps deal with that in a really good way. It's also worth mentioning that the Bravia Connect app is a really good experience. They've done a really good job with it. It syncs really well, syncs really easily. The setup experience is really good. And through that, you can have a lot of control, including using it as a remote, your phone. It just works well. But also just in terms of tweaking all the settings and stuff like that, because there are a lot of settings on this TV, a lot of settings, many more than most people are going to need. But the integration to them is really quite good. But let's talk about the performance. And this is where this TV is just really, really kicked it out of the park. So one of the Sony's big goals with this was to match its cinema, like obviously Sony Pictures makes a lot of movies, they've got a lot of tech for making those movies, and they wanted to really match the brightness and the color accuracy of their cinema creating tech in this TV. That was their goal. So you're talking 4,000 lumens of brightness here. Like I said, it's the brightest 4K TV that Sony's ever made. But it's not all about the brightness. There's just a great, it's vivid, it's crisp. The blacks are really deep. It's got a lovely balance. It handles motion really, really well. Gaming obviously shines. It's got, I'll talk a bit more about the gaming features in a second. But yeah, the panel really pops. And like I said, there's a lot of settings you can go into with this thing. Way more than I think most regular users are going to need to go through, because out-of-the-box experience is really quite good. But you can go in there and you can tweak a lot, and it's not just, they're quite subtle. It's not like you have to just, like the brightness is just instant overload. You can really go in there and just subtly change a few things and have a subtle impact. You never get that kind of plasticky look that you get when you get some of those experiences when you're watching TVs where it looks like you just feel like you're on a super fake set and everything just looks really plasticky. You don't get that effect at all. So I think they've done a really, really good job. And like I said, it's really easy to go through the app and to tweak and to change all of those things and to get exactly the experience that you're looking for. There's also quite a range of presets from IMAX enhanced to cinema to gaming to all these types of things that you can obviously dive into as well. I'll go into, like I said, I'll go into gaming more in a second. The only thing is that it does have a little bit of reflection. I've noticed, it's so bright, there's so much going on the screen, you can't see it that much unless you get into really dark scenes, but it's not like the anti-glare is ruling out all of it. You definitely get a little bit, and I have heard people complain online about getting a bit of a rainbow effect on that glare. I haven't seen that myself, but people have picked up and noticed that. And the angle, when you're getting to a bit of an angle and you're looking a bit from the side, you kind of, maybe the viewing angle isn't as sharp as we've seen elsewhere, but it's not too bad. And what are you watching it from over there for anyway? Now, obviously gaming is a big deal for consumers, and if you're looking at a Sony TV, one of the main reasons is you might have a Sony PlayStation 5, which I have here. And obviously there's a lot of synergy here. The PlayStation 5 and the Bravia 9, they talk to each other, it knows when it's connected. It's got a lot of stuff built in for gamers like auto HDR mapping, automatic low latency, VRR, obviously it's 120 Hertz refresh rate. So all of that kind of helps bring to life a great gaming experience and that really good brightness. And I didn't mention this before, but one of the things, if you jump into some of my earlier videos, I've got actual footage of what's the panel behind here. I'll put a link in the description. But they've got this thing called, I think they call it sesame seed drivers. Tiny little things, so they got, and basically that's in the background controlling all the lighting and the dimming zones on this mini LED panel. So it's got really quite a substantial amount of dimming zones. And that basically means that you're not getting very little light bleed in those blacks, and the depth of color and then the brightness and the ability to control all that makes the real, gaming action sequences, sparks flying everywhere, combos, all that type of stuff really does pop and stand out. So they've done a really, really good job with that. The only thing where it probably doesn't, well, there's two things where it kind of lets itself down as a gaming experience. The 17 millisecond input lag isn't perfect. I mean, if you're used to gaming monitors, you'll definitely be going, whoa, 17. So that's something that potentially could be better. And also, like I mentioned at the start, only 2 HDMI 2.1 ports in the back. Now we are seeing 4 on some of the competitors now. And where that restricts you is if you've got 2 consoles. So here you can see I've got an Xbox Series X, a PlayStation 5 and a soundbar. And the reality is only 2 of them can access the HDMI 2.1 ports at once, because one of them is the EARC port. So the EARC port is feeding back to the soundbar, and the other one's got the PlayStation in it, which means the Xbox doesn't get to go into a 2.1 port, which means the Xbox basically lose all those higher end visual experiences. So that is a definite bummer, and I really wish that Sony, especially considering Sony makes the PlayStation 5, would acknowledge the fact that people might have more than one console and give us more than just the 2.1s. So I didn't show this before, but I definitely should. One of the, like I mentioned, the app interface, but also just the UI on the TV is quite smart and quite easy to bring up. We've got a great integration of the Google TV experience. And the way that it also connects between the PlayStation with the gaming menu and also the soundbar, when you've got everything cooked in, it actually does quite a good job of just bringing everything in and out in a really organic and interesting way, and you can see how quickly it responds as well. It's really responsive UI, and I have been having problems with some of the other UIs I've been using lately on some of the other competing TVs, but this one's been going really quite well. So anyway, those are my thoughts on the Sony Bravia 9 TV. Look, the panel experience definitely makes it worthy of considering. They've just really done a good job with it. The fact that the audio on the actual TV itself is also really solid definitely helps. And like I said, that UI and everything also plays into making it a really good experience. Could it be better? Absolutely. I've gone through quite a few things here where I think that needs to improve on. The position of the ports, the number of ports that they are. Things like HDR10 Plus compatibility would have been nice. There's a few little bits and pieces here and there where it definitely could improve. But I think that if you pick up this TV, you're going to be pretty happy with your purchase. It's, yeah, I've really enjoyed my time using it. All right, guys, that is my review of the Sony Bravia 9 TV. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Chris Stead. Check out my other videos. Until next time, see you later.